This leash gets a lot of hate, and it's because the people who are using it are oftentimes using it all wrong. It's still uneven. If you want to use a retractable leash, there's a time and place for that. So if you want to use a retractable leash responsibly, these would be those times. Use this leash when you're in an open field or spacious area. It's gonna allow for freedom of movement and the ability to explore. You could also use a long lead. I love long leads, but depending on where we're at, it could get caught up in the bushes, caught up in their paws, or caught up in my feet. You don't wanna use this in a narrow walkway or let it extend in a crowded environment. You don't wanna be using this around lots of people. Your dog should not be wrapping around other people's legs. A couple years ago, a dog ran behind me and then veered in front of me, so the leash wrapped around my leg and gave me a tiny little burn. That hurt, by the way. You can use a retractable lead if your dog is leash trained. If you want to avoid leash burns and injuries, you want your dog to be able to heel or walk nicely next to you. Your dog should not be dragging you from place to place. Understanding leash pressure will also help them learn to stop or come back to you when they reach the end of the leash. You can use this leash if your dog has a good recall. If your dog is 15 feet ahead of you and you want them to come back to you, you should be able to just call them. You should not be reeling them in and clicking and reeling them in and clicking. If your dog is not reactive, you can use this leash. And before you come for me, reactive dogs can use a retractable leash too, but it just depends on the environment and depends on the circumstances. Having a retractable leash does not offer you any control or safety for you, your dog, or those nearby. So if you're somewhere where triggers may be present, you probably don't want your dog on a retractable leash. You want them on something a little bit more durable, something that gives you more control. I've just seen a lot of dogs who are reactive and they're barking, lunging, and pulling towards other dogs, and the owners are just real click, trying to get their dog under control. I think it's a good idea to get your dog used to the leash dropping. You don't want your dog to be 10 feet ahead of you, yank you, the leash falls out of your hand, and now it's chasing your dog. One of my clients is an elderly couple, and they have a big Labradoodle. They were out walking and they let their dog run and hit the end of the leash. The leash slipped out of her hand. She fell, and then the leash started chasing the dog. Because of that, the dog just kept running. The dog did not have any recall. The dog did not have leash skills, and the only way they were able to get their dog back was because the neighbors helped. You can use this leash if you're considerate to the people around you. Maybe your dog is cute and friendly and just wants to say hi, but not everybody knows that, and not everybody wants that interaction. But if your dog is not leash trained, does not respond to leash pressure, lacks recall, is in a crowded environment or around triggers, you and your dog might not be ready for one just yet, or at least not in that situation.